maybe we're the teenagers, and God says, you live in my house until you learn how to follow my rules, you know? And so it could have been turned around for us. So we have to grow and learn these rules. Deuteronomy 8:18, and you shall remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you power to get wealth, that you may establish his covenant. And we learn that in Psalms 50:12. If I were hungry, I would not tell you, for the world is mine and all of its fullness. In other words, God owns everything. He owns the garden, and he could get food when he wants to. So all things are God. So if you're paying your tithes and you're living the way you should be, and you're being a witness for what you're living for Christ, does God take care of his saints? Yes. Well, I'd like to give a little testimony now. A few years ago, we don't do it much anymore, but my wife's family, her brothers and a sister, every once in a while we'd get together, and we were doing it about every 4 or 5 months at least. We'd get together and pick a park somewhere, and we'd all go there in our RVs. And many of you know I have a 2005 Chevrolet Duramax diesel, big truck. Dry, it weighs about 8,200 pounds. And then I had a fifth wheel. I still have it. It weighs 7,000 pounds dry, all loaded up with the fuel and propane tanks and all. I'm probably 16,000 pounds going down the road. We'd gone down one time to Swanee River Park down just in Florida, near Chieftain, Florida, in North Florida, and stayed the weekend. And every time I went, me and my wife would, Saturday morning, we'd pack up. They knew that we'd pack up, and we'd get in the truck, and we'd go to the nearest Adventist church and go to church on Sabbath. But in the afternoon, we'd come back and spend time with them. We'd generally all have a little potluck dinner out there. And by the time Sunday rolls around, we'd pack up and all leave. Well, on this particular Sunday afternoon, we all kind of packed up and headed out. And I headed out with one brother-in-law in front and one in the back. There's from the park, there's a shell road that led out to the highway, I'd say about 3/4 of a mile. And just left the park, was outside. Started rolling outside, doing about 25 miles an hour. Got about 500 feet outside the park, and I'm driving in my truck with the fifth wheel behind, and all of a sudden there's a loud bang, and shook the truck and felt it drop. Didn't know what happened, and we come to a stop, and my wife said, "What's going on?" And the way the truck dropped, I said, "I think we dropped a ball joint." And so and I got out, and sure enough, that's what happened. The ball joint broke. And so I had AAA at the time, and I called them. And so they come, and the guy looked at it and said, "Yeah, that's what it is." And he had a special setup when we had to unhook the fifth wheel, and he pulled the truck out from under it. And about the time he was loading up my truck, this other truck was coming in, and he stopped, and he said, "I'll take your fifth wheel back to the park if you want after I drop my wife off." I said, "Yeah, I'd appreciate that." So we did, and we got it put back, and we hauled us into town in Chieftain, and the park manager had recommended a front-end shop, and even the tow truck driver said it was a good front-end shop. And he dropped us off at a hotel a couple of blocks away, and I went with him to after he waited while we got the room, and we dropped the truck off, and I met the man Monday morning to repair the truck, and he got started on it. And then he called me back with the parts and all, and he got started on it. And then he called me, I believe it was Tuesday, and said, "I found something else about your truck." He said that broke. And he said, "In 42 years of working on the automobiles, I've never seen this happen before." And so, and I kept this as a memorial to it, because this could only be God's intervention. This is called a pinion shaft. And this is the shaft that comes out of the steering box where you steer with, and it snapped right in two. We were about 2 minutes from getting on the highway going 55 miles an hour, and about 30 minutes from getting on the interstate doing 70 with 16,000 pounds. If that's not snapped just a few minutes later, and I would have lost control of that vehicle. And no telling what would have happened to us. I doubt that we would have survived. But this is 1.25 inches thick right here. I found out later on that when the wheel dropped, it bent the fender, and I had to get some body work done. Well, when I was getting the body work done, the guy showed me there was a little Bondo there on there. So the truck had been in an accident before I bought the truck, and I didn't know it. Of course, that information wasn't given to me. So, and this shaft had already been broke halfway through. It was partly rusted. So apparently in a previous accident, it had partly sheared through. And I'd been driving the truck for 5 years at that time. And so it's just a miracle of God that happened there when I'm driving so slow. If it had happened a few minutes later, we would have lost control of the vehicle, and probably wouldn't have lived through the accident of that magnitude at high speed. So God looks after people, I think. It's that right in there. It's a miracle, and I say this just to remember that occurring. And so miracles do happen. And so, have we got us up and running? Yeah, that's the slide I'm going to need. Okay, all right. That's good. Okay, all right. We'll see if we can get. We're on that slide that I need anyway. So, okay, now I'm going to do something I haven't done in a few years. A few of the old people have seen this before. We're going to shift gears a little bit. I have here 2 $1 bills. They're both mine. I can do whatever I want with them. But I'm going to change one of these dollar bills right before your eyes. I don't do magic tricks or anything, but watch what I do. Right here, one of them's going to change. You see it? Boom. That dollar bill just went from a secular use to a holy use. That's for God's use now. Now, this one's my dollar bill. I can still do whatever I want to with it. What happens to your tithe money now that you pay tithe for? Where does it go? Yeah. So are we up on the screen now? Okay. The Seventh-day Adventist. Together we can do more. Let me see if I'm going to go in the right direction. There we go. Oops. There we go. Where does your tithe go when you pay it? This shows you at the local church, the Southern Union of churches, which for us is the Southern Union, the North American Division is the next place it goes, and then the General Conference, which is a world church, is over there. Let me see if I can go the right direction this time. Oops. Let's try this one. Wait a minute. I went blank. There we go. How can you accomplish maintaining everything that the conference does? Can the church support the Cohutta Springs Academy, a university, a revolving fund, radio, TV stations, 900 missionaries? Let's see if we can keep it going. All by paying tithes. What happens in this tithes? Your treasurer would appreciate it if you would fill out the whole envelope. It's surprising sometimes we get tithe envelopes and nobody's put their name on it. Just put your name on it would help. That's the biggest things. We have to trace it down. God returns, and He stretches your dollar. Now, this is based on a $100 bill. If you donate $100 bill, where does it go? And so this breaks it down into where parts of this $100 bill, where it goes. What would you do if you wanted to benefit? Wait a minute. Let me try this one. Whoops, I disappeared. I went backwards. Let me see where I end up. I'm blank. Yep. All right, let's go. Let me show the right direction. I'll get this figured out in a minute. Okay, you working it back there? Okay. Should I go left or right with this one? Right. Okay. Let me see. There it goes. Let me just use this and maybe I can get it. Let me keep it going. Nope. Should I go left or right here?
Don't do anything with that one.
Okay. I'm doing right, but it's not doing anything.
We're seeing it on the screen.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
But it should add more as I click.
Yes, it is. It's whizzing along.
Oh, I'm not even seeing it. Okay. Yeah, see, I can't see it on mine. See, 155 full-time pastors, your 198 church organizations in the conference.